Black Love is the Revolution. We are excited for you to be here for an amazing event tonight, and we will be getting started in just 2 minutes. Okay, everyone, welcome. We are excited for you to be here, and we are ready to begin with tonight's amazing event. Black People Are America's Hot Sauce presents Black Love is the Revolution, empowered by UpFront. For everybody tuning in, if this is your first time in this space, my name is Verneda Adele, the founder of America's Hot Sauce, because Black people are America's Hot Sauce. And we are excited to be holding the second night of what has been a 2-night series around empowering Black marriage, Black love, and strengthening the Black family. If this is your first time, we'll give you a little insight into America's Hot Sauce, that we are more than a brand, it's a movement, and our commitment is steadfast, not only in creating a more just and equitable world, but it's our greatest work to create space for 1 billion Black people across the diaspora to thrive. We believe thriving begins with our self-love and self-care, and there is no greater love than the love that we have for one another. And so we will be bringing up getting started with our co-host, John Graham, in just a moment, as well as having a moment to ground ourselves into the conversation tonight. But first, I will share just a little bit for those who are in the space for the first time about Black People Are America's Hot Sauce. Go here. So again, my name is Verneda Adele, and about 4 years ago, I published an article in the Daily Beast calling out systemic racism in corporate America, more specifically Town and Country Magazine and the Hearst Corporation. And part of that article, besides chronicling my experience of experiencing discrimination as a contractor, as a consultant for that organization, and 2 former Black employees who lent their stories to the article, there goes into us a deeper dive around the historic exploitation of our Black star power when white brands use Black fashion, style, music, influence, technology to be cool, to be relevant, to sell more products and services, but they're not actually invested in us. But we know this happens because, as quoted in that article, Black people are the definitive hot sauce on an otherwise bland white America. And that was a 2-time award-winning article that led to a movement that first started with virtual events. We were very heavy on Clubhouse, grew a community of over 20,000, and then people started asking for merch. So we are, as an anti-racism ecosystem and premium lifestyle brand, dedicated to Black people thriving on 3 tenets. Really focus on our economic prosperity, so the hot sauce, realizing the full economic impact of our creative and cultural contributions. There's our health and wellness platform, particularly with self-care is the revolution. And tonight, as we will be diving into thriving in our relationships and in our environment. So of course, as I said, people started asking for merch. They wanted to represent the America's Hot Sauce Tribe. We began with our Black People Are America's Hot Sauce tote bag. Tonight, I am wearing, and you'll see John also wearing our Black Love is the Revolution t-shirt. We are hosting a flash sale. Kashaya Wilson, who is our production assistant, will be dropping in the chat with a promo code where you can get 20% off the collection now through Juneteenth. And just to share a few of our influencers who have joined the America's Hot Sauce Tribe, fashionista Monroe Steele. For those who know her, also actor and comedian Flex Alexander, Grammy-nominated singer Shanice, his wife. DJ Envy is a part of the America's Hot Sauce Club, along with the one and only Charlemagne the God, who tapped in most recently, and we love it. But the most important members of our tribe are you. So please tap in, like and subscribe this video, like at Verneda Adele, just starting to grow the YouTube platform. So we're right at the beginning. Would love to get to 100 subscribers tonight. You can tap into our community on Instagram at Verneda Adele, at America's Hot Sauce. And of course, I want to shout out all of our speakers tonight. Make sure that you are tapping into their socials as well as just be upfront. And so we are excited to bring up our partner in progress, as I was corrected last night. Let's go on and bring up John Graham, who is the founder of UpFront Marital Technologies and the founder of the first Black-owned relationship readiness app that is focused on healing before the relationship. John, thank you so much for being back with us.
Oh, it's awesome to be back, V. Thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure to see the audience growing. It's a testament to the work you're doing to spotlight Black love. So, yes, for those who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, we're coming across in these social streets. I'm John Graham, as Verneda said, founder and CEO of UpFront Marital Technologies Incorporated, and UpFront is our flagship relationship readiness ecosystem that is now available on Android and iOS, officially launched as of June 7th. So we are fresh out the gates, but not just starting the work. Just a brief blurb, it is not a dating app. This is about readiness before you ever meet a connection. So we differ very specifically in that you don't meet a connection until you've done 30 days with our AI guides, Langston or Zora, who are trained in 8 different psychological frameworks rooted in Black psychology, history, and cultural nuance. So this isn't out the box GPT or Claude. This is built for us, by us, and with your relationship readiness in mind. Once you hit your 85% readiness score, then we get you in our connection district where you're algorithmically matched, and then we stay with you through the life cycle of a relationship with marriage mentorship, with wedding vendors, and all the way to legacy planning and building as well. So we just get started once you find your person. So really excited for y'all to join this conversation and hopefully see you on UpFront.
Yes, we love it. We love it, John. Absolutely. And so we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into this idea of relationship readiness and also ensuring that you have done the work, the healing before connection. But first, we are going to get grounded in this space. Let's go on and bring up, for those who were here last night, you had a treat. We had our fireside chat around the engagement, where we had an amazing conversation with Gregory Campbell and Regina Little, your favorite viral couple, who went viral for their engagement at the Cornell University Black Alumni Association 50th anniversary in April, garnering over 500,000 views. Yes, Greg did get on one knee, and then was reposted by Grammy-nominated artist Tyrese, not only for being such a beautiful moment, but also showing all of us that love is possible at any age. So let's have Regina and Greg come up. I don't know. And John, you can come back. All right. Good afternoon, Greg.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Well, thank you so much again for such an amazing conversation last night.
Well, it was my pleasure. Just so much joy to be there with you and to share our story.
Excellent, excellent. And then as Regina comes to the stage, one of the things that really stuck out in our conversation was this focus around health, wellness, and longevity, and that finding love at any age also is paired with a commitment to having a long, thriving life. So I'd love to introduce Regina Little, who was here with us last night, also the founder of Monarch Wellspring, to lead us in a brief affirmation exercise to ground the space.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. So what we're going to do is, wherever you are right now, I want to make sure that we all arrive at this place together. We've all had busy days. This is the end of the day. Hopefully, we're all excited to be here and we're going to get so much out of this session. So I want you to soften your shoulders, kind of wiggle, soften your shoulders. I want you to unclench your jaw. And I want you to take a slow breath in at your own pace and let it go. And so for just these next few minutes when we're together, I want you to set that weight down, whatever that weight might have been that you've been carrying today. I want you to come into this conversation with your heart a little more open than when you first logged on. So now I want you to breathe in deeply, breathe in what you came here for, and release whatever you carried in with you. Now I want you to settle into this truth. You are allowed to want love, real love, lasting love, the kind that puts down roots and builds something. And here is where you came from. I want you to imagine this. Behind you stands a line of people who love fiercely in conditions designed to make love impossible. They were separated and found their way back. They were told they were unworthy and built families anyway. Their love was never small, it was an act of defiance. This is the inheritance you carry. Black love has always been revolutionary, not because it's loud, but because it insists on joy, togetherness, and choosing each other in a world that is not, to this very day, always made room for it. So now I want you to feel that strength behind you. All those generations, our ancestors, holding us up. I want you to sit up a little taller and say these affirmations with me, out loud if you can, or in your spirit if you can't. I am ready for love, not today, but now. I am worthy of a partner who shows up, stays, and chooses me on purpose. I will not shrink, perform, or settle to be chosen. The right person wants all of me. I want to let that settle in. Black love is my birthright, and I am claiming it. I trust my worth. I trust God's timing. And I trust that love is ready for me to have and to hold. One more deep breath in, breathing in love and positive energy, breathing out fear and doubt. So let's carry that energy into this space as we step into this conversation together with open hearts, with big hope, and the radical belief that the love we're seeking is real, it's possible, and it's worth everything. Back over to you, Verneda and John.
Oh,
Amazing.
man.
Amazing. Thank you,
So
Regina.
relaxed right now.
Yes,
That was amazing.
that is perfect.
Beautiful
Perfect.
words.
Thank you. Thank you so much again for being with us. We look forward to continuing our conversation with Regina Little and Gregory Campbell. Check out in the chat. We'll be putting how you can stay connected with him. Regina, I cannot thank you enough. That was beautiful. Well, excellent. All right. Wow. I mean, John, why are you like,
Hey, like I just watched the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary last night too, and there's like a real strong focus on the breath work and the metaphysics. So this just took me right back in. Now all I hear is, as one in the back of my head too. This is great.
Yes, yes, it's beautiful. And it's also apropos because it lends to the conversation that this is the counterpart to, or the counter movement to what we are seeing, or what's being oppressed upon us as Black people, that Black love is our birthright, that it is counter to some of the stats. We believe that we can increase our rates of marriage amongst Black people. Right now, we're seeing them as low as 25 to 20% of, as far as a rate of Black people getting married. Opposite of that, 77% of Black children are being born into single parent households. And we also know there's an economic impact and there's a health and wellness impact, that the demographics that have the highest rates of marriage also have the highest rates of household wealth. And that is typically Asian and Southeast Asian. And then the households that have the lowest rates of marriage also have the lowest rates of household wealth. And that is amongst us in the Black community. So thank you so much again to Regina and Greg for being here. We look forward to continuing more conversations with you. Thank you for sharing your light. And we're going to get ready for our first fireside chat.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you both.
y'all.
Excellent. All right, John.
Yes.
We are on. Off to the
Let's
races.
go.
That was beautiful.
We're rolling. That's a
Definitely
beautiful way to start.
could not have asked for more with that.
No,
right.
no. I feel grounded. So
Yes. We met the goal. Okay, so up first, we are now going into our first fireside chat. Now, we talked about last night was the engagement. Tonight's all
Yeah.
about marriage. So we thought it very fitting to start with the newlyweds first. We're going to start with
That's
the
right.
newlyweds. And when we started talking about, who would be a great newlywed to bring into the space and talk about their experience and to share their light with us, the one and only, I got to give a shout out to John.
I'm excited.
This was John's had the vision.
Listen, I'm grateful. Let me just say
Yes.
that, but I am excited because his
We're
brother's
very
story is
excited. Very
amazing.
excited. So we made a
Yes.
special announcement at the end of last week that Lateris R. Whitfield, the host of the also popular Dear Future Wifey podcast, would be with us tonight. Please, let's bring Lateris to the stage. As we are doing that, I'll quickly share. Lateris R. Whitfield is a 3-time Emmy-nominated producer, cinematographer, national playwright, and director who is most celebrated as the host of the award-winning, top-rated, always trending, and often viral relationship podcast, Dear Future Wifey. Conceived in 2020, Lateris debuted the Dear Future Wifey podcast as a transformative tool to heal his own relationship struggles and chronicle his personal mission to discover, uncover, and recover love. Today, Lateris has become known as the relationship whisperer, and Dear Future Wifey has been deemed the healthiest platform for love and relationships on the internet. The 2023 winner of 2 Telly Awards, Lateris has welcomed conversations with some of the culture's most notable celebrities, influential personalities, and trending voices who show up to tell their stories in ways that audiences wouldn't normally expect or even hear about. Watch and listen to the Dear Future Wifey podcast by subscribing on YouTube. And we are going to get Lateris to 1 million. We're going to get to the 1 million on YouTube and anywhere you hear podcasts on. Everyone from the American Tall Sauce Tribe to Top Bend with Lateris R. Whitfield. And also look forward to talking about your book tonight. Lateris, welcome to the stage.
Welcome, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, salute to y'all for everything that y'all doing. John with his new app, you with America's Hot Sauce. I mean, you just been doing amazing work.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
bro.
We do. We appreciate you. Oh, I forgot to show you that John and I are twinning tonight.
We twinning.
We twinning with the Black Love. The Black Love is the Revolution tees. And I am actually going to set this up because the other part of the conversation that John and I had as we brainstorm what would be really fruitful for the community to hear, as I mentioned backstage that up until this point, it's always been me moderating this curated event with Black husbands. We have yet to have a conversation man to man. So I'm going to start with a initial question for you, Lateris, but I am going to pop off and give you and John a chance to talk husband to husband. And my question for you before I pop off the stage is, as we talked about the premise of Black love being our birthright, even as an act of resistance, I would ask you, what does Black love is the revolution mean to you?
Well, I looked up the word revolution, and the revolution is a fundamental, sudden, and radical change in society. And I believe that that's what we need. We need a radical change in Black love. I'm sick and tired of looking on social media where I see Black women pitted against Black men and vice versa,
Yes.
spewing out the narrative as if we don't need each other. And I know that we are more powerful together than separated. And so I believe that there needs to be a Black love revolution. And as long as we keep speaking this from a forward thinking, then I believe that our words have power and a change is on the horizon.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Lateris. Okay, so I am
Yeah.
going, I know it was like, boom, drop the mic on the first answer.
I
We
mean,
are I'm going to pop off and I'm going to have you and John take it away.
thanks, V. Yeah, man. So look, Lateris, we've had many a conversation, and this space is not new to you, but I think you've seen it evolve for sure. But I want to speak more to your personal experience. I know Dear Future Wifey was your therapy, was the process for healing to get ready for relationship. And you've often spoken about covering your wife. And I want to start with that. For those that might not understand or know what it means to cover one's wife, what does that mean to you? And how would you explain that to a aspiring husband?
I think covering is in different facets, in many facets, from a spiritual standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from an emotional standpoint. A
Mm,
lot of times we talk about the financial. And the reason why I said that last is that oftentimes that's first. As men, we're trained and programmed that we have to be a provider. And it's always financial. It's never, my dad never talked to me about providing or covering my wife from an emotional standpoint, even from a spiritual standpoint, to make sure that she's
mm,
prayed for and covered from that standpoint. And so for me, it's in all those buckets where she feels a place of safety, knowing that by me being in her life, she is covered in every aspect that she needs.
mm. Now, I love that. Now, you touched on something that actually is a segue perfectly about the tools that our fathers didn't have to give us, right?
Yeah,
This is something that I'm super passionate about. I know you are as well, but there's a level of elevation that Black men are being called to rise to right now and developing tools that we weren't given. There was no playbook to teach us how to be husbands. Hell, there's
absolutely.
no playbook to teach us how to be men. So I wonder what resources, what counseling, what community and village did you seek out to get these tools to be the husband you know you could be?
Well, first and foremost, the main resource was the source, which is my Heavenly Father. And so I would read the Bible. I would go to church. I put accountability around me through pastors. I have a team of pastors that surround me. I have so many pastors in my phone. I can call any one of them and ask any question I may have and struggle with. And then I went through therapy. I had an actual therapist worked with me through certain things that I needed to let go of from my past as a child, things that I saw that I didn't even realize that was deeply affecting me on a level where it's like, hold on, you're carrying that stuff. Like one thing that I really dealt with was covering my mom. And so I would cover my mom so well, even though my mom was married to my dad, it was that the gaps that he didn't feel, I stepped in and filled.
Mm,
And so I started realizing that I was acting as a husband when I was only supposed to be a son.
Oof.
And and so that taught me a whole lot. That was the first
mm,
counseling session I had with Love McPherson last March. And we had no, that was in February, the last week of February, my first counseling session with her. And in that conversation, she went straight to the heart of how I see myself covering my wife. And she said, "You did that as a child." And like to this very day, I pay all my mom's bills, I take care of her, whatnot. But it was me wanting to make sure that I provided for my mom in a way that a husband should. And because I
Mhm.
felt like my dad didn't do a great job doing so.
Man, listen, I think there's a lot of places we could go from here. We don't have enough time. My God. I think that there's many of us walking around as fully adult males still carrying that broken 8-year old,
Yeah.
right? Those childhood wounds that are unaddressed. And I'm grateful to hear that you addressed yours head on and can name them and name the behaviors. Another thing you talked about in the prior answer was around programming. And I think that's super important
Yeah.
because right now there's a lot of programming coming at us by way of social media and traditional media and so forth. But we often don't talk about the programming that we got in our own households, right? And so the first programming, and some will call it values or culture, or whatever the case may be, but that's the program. So from a standpoint of the conversations you're having, because you have a lot of conversations with black men as well as couples and so forth. But from a black men's standpoint, what would you hear? What would you say if you could qualify what the programming is today around beliefs of marriage or beliefs in marriage from a black man standpoint?
That men are relegated to men's value is only attached to what's in his bank account. And if
Mm,
I can
mhm,
dismantle that you are so much more valuable than what the dollar amount is in your bank account. And you got to think about it. A lot of men, we aspire to earn wealth in order to quote unquote get married. When I talk to a lot of men, I say, "Man, so why haven't you got married? I got to get my money together first." And then I said, "What if the wife is the key to unlock the money?" Jason Wilson was on my podcast, and he's very known for leading young men in the cave of Adullam
mhm,
in Detroit. And when he was on the podcast, he said in his 20s, he was a workaholic. His wife was a nurse. She was the major breadwinner. He was, quote unquote, trying to compete with her, working two jobs, literally killing himself, almost to the point to where he actually physically died because a forklift fell on him while off of a loading dock. And he was looking up to the heavens. He was like, "This is crazy." And what he learned from that moment in his 20s, as he and his wife were struggling financially, he said he and his wife got it together. And if I can get more men to understand that, don't try to compete with your wife. The Bible says, "I will give you a suitable helper." What a helper is someone that can come alongside of you with the vision. Now, you still have to have vision. You have to have vision. You have to have forethought and insight about what you feel like your marriage is meant to accomplish. Doesn't have to be anything real great and lavish where you have to go cure cancer or whatnot, but there has to have a level of a mission. Often men always scream, "I want you to submit, submit," but there can be no submission unless there's first submission. And so you have to first have a mission, whatever that mission is. And so what I believe that the deprogramming that has to take place is first of all our value, the value in knowing that we are greater than what's in our bank account, but also that you don't have to have it together in order to get married. Your wife is your suitable helper. And the brain of a wife, like the brain of my wife, is absolutely phenomenal. I know that, and I used to say this all the time before I got married. I said, "Yeah, y'all can look at Dear Future Wifey. Right now, I have 670,000 subscribers on YouTube." But I said that will pale in comparison to what my wife and I will accomplish. I said she will 10x my life, and she already
mm,
has. She's 10x my family life. Even my son, Ladarian, who I adopted when he was 8 years old, her being present in his life has 10x his emotional safety, pushing him in levels that he has never been pushed before. She just provides this other side that I realize her value is far greater than just in my life. And so I just
mm.
believe that men need to understand is that we really need our women in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. And I think that lesson, right? It's the programming of you have to be financially stable, thriving, winning before you can pop the question. But then
And John,
nobody
and
talks about.
John, And
Go
John, and
ahead.
on social media, they program you, and a lot of men be like, "I hear what you're saying, Latarius, but look at what these women are saying. That woman you don't
That's
want.
your algorithm.
Like the woman that is saying all that, that's not your woman. Let her talk. Let
Right.
her talk about a man has to pay her rent and pay her stuff after the first 3 dates. That's not who you want. You want the
That's
woman who
right.
sees you, notices you, values you, and the person that is for you. Those other women, let them talk. I never ever complain about the women that weren't aligned with me. I just let them talk. They can have all the conversations they want to on social media. I was very
Right.
clear at what I wanted based on my values.
Oh, man, I'm so glad you said that because we are not shown the vast possibility of a different reality based on these
Facts.
algorithms. And that's
Yep.
why I applaud, I salute you for what you are doing to enhance, improve, elevate people's algorithm every day in the work that you're doing and through example of your life, your lived experience. I have another question. We'll go a little deeper here. Um, this isn't your first rodeo, right? And UpFront has a lot of members who are, back in the market, as it were, and working on themselves to find their next relationship. What was it that, when was the moment that you knew that you were ready, number one, to be vulnerable again?
When I started Dear Future Wifey. And it was an episode that I did probably about a month and a half in, where I had Joey Greco, who used to be he was the former host of the TV show Cheaters. And God told me,
Mhm.
I want you in this episode to speak transparently about your infidelity in your past marriage. And I was like, oh Lord, I got 500 subscribers right now. These women gonna roast me. They're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to hear from him. He is a cheater. And God
Right.
said, do it. I did that episode, not one negative comment at all. And that began to unlock something from Dear Future Wifey, where it started growing on a deeper level. It started growing more rapidly. People started DMing me. People wanted to interview me about, okay, now what made you so transparent to share about how you were unfaithful in your past marriage? And God told me, I can't heal what you won't reveal. And so oftentimes we're trying to keep stuff buried. We try to hold on to our secrets, and those secrets will eat you alive. And so what comes from freedom is liberation of other people. When you can be transparent and vulnerable and honest, and you begin to open up and share with other people, then my DM started filling up with wives, with husbands reaching out to me and said, man, I cheated on my wife. We're still trying to work through this. Or how do I expose this? She keeps asking this question. Or wives saying, hey, I said I was going to take this to the grave, but I realized that our marriage is at a stalemate. How can we talk about that? And I'll do personal, and there's a lot of people don't know this. I would do personal Zoom sessions with people that would DM me and say, hey, let's walk through this. And so they would entrust me with some of their deepest pain, and we would walk through that, and they would be healed and their marriage began to thrive just because I was obedient in 2020 to be vulnerable and transparent.
And that is no easy feat, man. You put yourself all the way out there and
Out
said,
there, exposed.
listen, and look, I'll be the first to admit, man, it's tough because you want to say certain things, and we all know hearts and minds are not changed in comments on posts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But that fear of backlash leaves a lot of brothers silent,
yeah.
right? And I get that. So I applaud you for doing that and being brave and listening, obeying the calling in that regard. And so when your now current wifey, forever wife, was presented to you, how did you know that she was number one, the one, but number two, you were ready to try again?
I did so much work. When I met her in 2023. I had been doing the podcast for 3 years, but she and I started out as platonic friends. And one thing I will always say on my podcast is that I want to go from friend to fiance. I understand the importance of building a solid friendship with somebody and letting it evolve into romantic, or if God even decided for it to evolve romantic, but have a solid
Mhm.
foundation as friendship. And so we started off there where we were able to build trust and understanding. And she and I began to be those other people, in, that person in each other's lives that we would run to and tell about something that was exciting. And so
Mhm.
in February of 2025, I said, you know what? I said, I want to see if there's more to us than just friendship. And so I shot my shot and said, hey, When can I take you out on a date? Anytime I would travel to Los Angeles, we would meet up to go to lunch and catch up. And so this time I said, I want this to be romantic. I want to take you out. She told me March the 18th was her earliest availability. I booked my flight right then on that call. And the week before March the 18th, I told her, listen, you know what? I'm committed before the commitment. And typically, the way I would date multiple women, tell those women, hey, don't put all your eggs in my basket. You go date multiple guys, do what you do, and let me do what I do. And if I feel like you're the one, I cut everybody else off and I'll be exclusive with you. With her, it was so different because the week prior to that, I had said, you know what, I'm gonna be committed before the commitment. You keep doing whatever you're doing. You can talk to whoever you talk to, but I'm putting a full court press on you. You who I want. And that's just what it was. And so the
Ooh.
preparation was the therapy. The preparation was a Dear Future Wifey podcast. The preparation are men and women of God that will pour into me, that could identify and see the growth and the change and the healing that I had gone through. And I was just ready. Like, but I was ready a few years prior to actually, getting married to her. I was just prepared. And the year before
Mhm.
that, which was in 2024, I had prophesied over myself. I said, I'm gonna be married, and I made a public decree. I said, I'll be married by the end of 2025, with no woman in sight. I said, I'm gonna be married by the end of 2025. And got a little nervous when I said that publicly. I said, these people gonna say, I thought you said. I said, hey, I could be
Uh-huh.
wrong. So, but at the end of the day, it was where I was supposed to be, and it was beautiful.
And literally got married at the end of 2025. Like
November
called
22nd.
it.
November
Called it.
22nd, I got engaged to
Man.
her July the 13th at the very place that I set eyes on her when I was doing the podcast live at Erica and Warren Campbell's church. And then we got married November 22nd at that same church. 30,000
Yeah.
people tuned in to the live stream. It was live stream. It
Epic.
was just a beautiful moment. Yeah, it was just a God ordained moment.
One for the ages, man. Listen, I got one last question. I know your time is limited, brother. So marriage as a construct is one conversation, but when it comes to manhood, do you see marriage as a necessary part of manhood and the development of men?
I do. I just do.
Okay.
Um, See, I'm a Bible-based guy, and so I go back to Genesis where God Himself says it's not good for man to live alone. And He knew something in His infinite wisdom to know that there's a maturation phase that can only be accomplished in covenant. When a man, I'm telling you, I am a different person from no, well, November the 21st than I was November the 22nd. Me as a
Sure.
single man, and when I took vows, I felt this weight come on me. And I was like, whoo, I felt it. There's a different level of
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. There's a different level of covering. There's a different level of expectations. There's a different level of legacy building. Everything that I do now has legacy attached to it. Before, as a single man, yeah, I was doing it. I could say it's legacy, but at the end of the day, it will die with me. I had kids prior to our marriage and whatnot, but theoretically, if I was a single man, never married, never have kids, that legacy that I created would die with me. And the
Mm.
beautiful thing about when you come in partnership with somebody, now you have something that can outlive you. Whether I pass away and she's still there as a woman with no kids, it's still she gets to carry on the legacy. And so what I say that what's so important about the maturation phase of a man is that he'll introduce himself to a level of knowingness that he's never accomplished before. I have a tendency now to always think about what my wife's needs are. Being a single man, you can be selfish. You wake up, do what you want to. I can throw clothes on the floor. Nobody tell me nothing. I can leave, come home, do whatever I want to. Nobody has to say so or what my grown self does. But now I have to, even when I get something to eat, I say, babe, you hungry? What do you want to eat? Even as simple as that conversation is, I have to consider the needs of someone else. And it's a beautiful journey. It's so beautiful because it allows me to be the fullness of a man that I am. And I honestly, in my book, I talk about the book Student of Love. I say the only person that can grade me on how well of a job I'm doing is my wife. I could sit on these platforms and talk all day and wow people with Dear Future Wifey and all that and have a totally different life than I'm living behind the scenes. But that wife knows. That wife sitting up there looking at me like this is some bull. You know what I'm saying? So
To be
the
like,
reality,
word.
yeah, she like this. I always like looking at the first lady at a church when a pastor is talking about relationships. I be like, let me look at the first lady to see if she agreed. You
That's
know.
right.
And
That's
so I
right.
told my wife, I empowered her with being my teacher to say, I want you to teach me how to love you. One of my favorite songs is by Fantasia. That her song is called Teach Me. She says, teach me how
Mhm.
to love you. Show me I'm willing to learn. Following every instruction, I'll be a scholar when we are done. Teach me what you need because I'm willing to learn. And that's what I want to be with my wife.
Let's go. Brother, I can't thank you enough. And I'm sitting here lamenting. I can't remember the last time I didn't have to think about my wife. It's been 16 years. Damn, man, you talking about it. I'm like, I don't remember. It's been so long. But but look, man, thank you so much for your candor, for your energy, brother, for the work you're doing and for your time this evening. Let everybody know where they can get the book, Student of Love, bestseller. And anywhere else they can connect with you, obviously, if they
Yeah,
had
you can
been
go.
under a rock.
Yeah, you can go to studentoflove.com. It's available everywhere you purchase your favorite books from Amazon, audiobooks, everywhere. You can follow me at Laterris R. Whitfield on social media or Dear Future Wifey on YouTube. So go over there and subscribe.
We love it. We love you.
Fantastic.
Lateris, thank you so much for joining us and being here on Black People Are America's Hot Sauce, joining us for Black Love is the Revolution, tapping in with John and at UpFront. We couldn't have been happier to have you tonight. And thank you. Congratulations on your 6-month anniversary.
Thank you so much. Y'all
That's
be
right.
blessed.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, my guy.
All
Talk
right, bye.
soon, man.
Bye.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, John. That was such a fruitful conversation with Lateris. The
Telling you,
gems.
that he's seen some things. That's all I'm
Seen
saying.
some things. Seen
He
some
has
things.
seen some things.
All
Yes,
right.
yes,
Well,
great
we are
convo.
going to keep hopping on in our agenda here. So we have set us up with the newlyweds. Now we are going to go into the sustained 30 plus year marriage and tap into our next fireside chat. Let's bring welcome to the stage Sean Yancey and Marcus Wiseman for And This Is Love. And we are going to have this wonderful conversation with this beautiful couple. As I mentioned, this is the first time that we are having the voice of wives on our platform. Very excited for the two of you to be here. I will quickly share that Sean Yancey, who's also my source, shout out First Fam, and Marcus, First Fam. We are so excited for you all to be here. Now, Sean Yancey is a multiple Emmy and Edward R. Murrow award-winning broadcast journalist, nonprofit founder, and passionate abstract artist. She is a trusted voice in Washington, D.C. news, currently anchoring the 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. weekday newscast on NBC Washington. Sean's work off camera is just as impactful. Through her nonprofit, the Giving Foundation for Women and Children, she leads programs that provide hundreds of local children with winter coats and holiday toys and college scholarship for young mothers pursuing higher education degrees. Sean is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and she and her husband Marcus have 3 amazing sons, 2 beloved daughters in love, and 2 very energetic dogs. Now over to Marcus Wiseman. Marcus Wiseman is an AI automation architect, digital marketing strategist, and co-founder of And This Is Love. Before algorithms, there were newsstands. Marcus spent years as the founding publisher of 2 of the DMV's premier community publications, Potomac Living and Bethesda Living magazine, where he built an intimate understanding of what local businesses actually need to grow. When the 2020 pandemic reshaped the media landscape, Marcus chose to evolve rather than rebuild. Today, Marcus leads RFM Digital, an AI-powered automation and digital marketing agency helping businesses grow through intelligent systems, not more hustle. With more than 20 years of experience in publishing, digital media, and technology, he builds infrastructure that works while his clients sleep. I'm going to say right now, Marcus, we need to have an offline conversation about America's Hot Sauce merch and that automation. But most importantly, together, Sean and Marcus co-founded And This Is Love, a brand, business, and community created to celebrate, support, and strengthen marriages. Thank you so much for being here.
Thea and John, thank you for having us.
Yes,
Yes, so much.
absolutely. So we are going to jump right into the conversation. I set up the premise around the two of you coming to the stage as our most seasoned couple. Even as we going to have our panel of all Black husbands who are happily married Black women later on in the program. 33 years is definitely something to celebrate, to be encouraged around. And I forgive me, I also wanted to preface this conversation because tonight we are having all husbands married to beautiful, thriving Black women. But America's Hot Sauce, we do continue to advocate and will continue to bring programming around all forms of Black love so that we have that commitment. And so we are excited each time we have one of our events to bring different perspectives. And so, Sean, I will actually start with you, with our very first wife to be part of the program, and ask, what is And This Is Love? And what prompted you to start your platform after 30 plus years of marriage?
Thank you. And I'm honored to be the first wife here. So I'm really excited about that. We sort of started And This Is Love a couple of years ago, but we're really growing it now. But it started when our children were grown. We had started launching the children from the house, and we were looking at each other and we were thinking, who are we now without those kids? We have two sons that are married. We have a son that's getting ready for his junior year in college. And it was like, who are we now? And so much goes into celebrating the beginning of marriage and talking about, once the engagement happens and the going through premarital counseling and all of that. We thought we need to celebrate who we are and where we are right now. And we know there's so many people that are in this space. We like to call it I don't really like to call it that, but it's midlife marriage. So we just wanted to celebrate that and who we are and make sure that, we're a space for couples who are playing the long game, to converse, to talk, to share, and grow together.
Sean makes it sound so structured. I was just happy to get my girlfriend back because my girlfriend is a lot more fun than mom. And, after these kids get up and a little bit more independent, it's like, hey, you mean we can go on a date? You mean the kids aren't here? And so for me, it was a living collection of our love that was captured in images. And we realized that, we've got something special and let's share it.
I love that. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
On that note, when y'all finally got this consciousness that, hey, these kids are out and we need to figure out who we are, what was that first date where you're like, who are you? Like, did y'all reset like date one? Tell me about yourself.
Ooh, I'm trying to remember that. Well, I think after the last child went to school and I came home and I sat on his bed and I cried, and he walked in and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, he's like,
"I'm here." Celebration.
And so he had to say, "I'm here." And I think we went out. Maybe we went out that night or the next day, and it was this realization: hey, it's us. It's you and me against the world. I mean, we love our children dearly.
But we've been raising kids for 35 years.
30, a long time. And we realized that we got to figure out, who we are moving forward and reset. And it's been a lot of fun. And it also hit us that we had so many friends and people who were in that same space that we wanted to help, because people are going through that. And so much of your life is your children and figuring out how to take them to the baseball games or soccer games or football games. That's what your conversation is. Now our conversations, we still talk about the kids, but our conversations are more of us now.
And we've also learned we can't tell anybody how to fix their relationship. We just talk about what works in ours. Lateris, I could tell that brother, he had plenty more content. He was ready to go. and God is looking out for you for helping brothers. You are modeling. For me, I know this woman, and I know what has worked for me with her. And so sometimes I share stories of, what may have worked for me in hopes that it helps other brothers who are struggling with, relationships, because they can be hard. I mean, this hasn't all been perfect for us, but we decided it was going to work. And I think that makes a big difference.
Ooh, thank you for touching on that, Marcus, because this is probably the crux of why we titled this segment A Second Chance and a Lifetime of Happiness, making the decision to make it work. So I had a chance to, Sean and I chatted a bit. Your path to marriage was not a straight line. And as much in your 30 seconds Cliff Note version that you would like to share,
Okay.
I would add, it was not a straight line, but what were the qualities that each of you possess that allowed you to see a bigger picture and move forward with marriage?
You want to start?
I'll start. I knew from day one she was everything I wanted. She took a lot more convincing. It was a little bit more role for her, but I knew from day one. And when I pursued her, I wasn't going to be stopped. I made a decision that she was going to be my girl.
As you mentioned, we didn't exactly have a straight line. We met in high school, so we went to prom together. We've known each other since we were 16. We had a little, couple of zigs and zags during college, but ultimately, I knew that this was who God put on this earth for me. And when he stopped chasing me for a minute, I started chasing him. And I knew that not only did I want him to be my husband, but I wanted him to be the father of our children, to be that example of a loving, kind, caring man for our three sons. And I just knew that he was put here specifically for me.
I love that. Okay, so Sean and Marcus, if I could press you a little bit, share a little bit about the zigzag.
Okay.
Now, at some point, Marcus pulled back.
Okay.
But then became forward again. And what did that look like?
Here's the zigzag. So we were dating in high school. I went to college at one school. He went to a different school. And maybe halfway through freshman year, his neighbor said, "Hey, man, your girlfriend, your ex-girlfriend is dating my friend.
Tell me more."
So he didn't know he was like, "I don't have an ex-girlfriend." But anyway, so during the next couple of years, right after that, he had a football scholarship to a school. He gave up his football scholarship.
I was going to get my girl back.
He came to my school to get me back. I was stuck on stupid.
It didn't work.
It didn't work right away. All right. So a couple of years went by. I was still stuck on stupid. I got pregnant, and he was going through the military reserves right then to help pay for school. So he was not on campus anymore. I had my son Wednesday, went back to class on Monday, and finished school a semester early, and came to the realization that I knew that what I was sharing with you guys, that I love this man. And so once I finished school, I would show up at his job every single day to try to take him out to lunch. And he would tell me, "No, go away, go away, go away." And so finally one day,
one of my mentors who taught me, the business and who was an all around good guy, he said, "Man, just sit down and see what she has to say." We sat down and had lunch. She introduced me to our oldest son, Anthony, and I decided that I was going to be his father. So I think I fell in love with him the first time I met him. And that made it easier for us to get back together.
So I will tell you this, we continued dating, and I took him out to Applebee's, gave him an engagement ring, and asked him to marry me. He said no. He told me I wasn't ready yet.
He wasn't ready.
But then a couple months later,
I was kind of inspired. At my brother's wedding reception, I asked her to marry me.
That's not exactly, he did, but he said, "Look, here's the deal.
I love it.
I love you. I want to marry you, but here's the deal. Anthony is my son. I love him, and that's the deal. We're getting married. He's my son." And I was like, well, okay, that works.
Okay.
And that was 33 years ago. So, again, like we said, it has not been a straight line. Our journey has been up, our journey has been down. Our love has not been a perfect journey from what you would see in the movies or on TV, but it's been perfect for us. And I think we've learned from the mistakes, the challenges that we've overcome, that every day, if we choose each other and we stick with our faith in God, that we can overcome and we can make this work.
That's right.
I love that. I love that.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your candor and being willing to share. And I think that is so important because we are living in a time and space in society now where seemingly, of course, none of us are there when these, you know, marriages are coming together and coming apart. But it seems to be there is a bit of a trend of people getting married and having that first argument and being like, nope, you know, I'm tapped out. I'm tapped out. Can't do it. So, could you talk a little bit more about the qualities that not and you talked about making the decision, but what are some of the qualities that allow you to sustain marriage? Certainly, you know, you had the zigzag, but then when those conflicts come up, you know, to stay the course versus throwing in the towels.
I think first and foremost for us, our foundation is rooted in faith, our faith in God, and knowing that we can always take it to Him in prayer, and that is our foundation. But I think the other thing that was so important is that we're friends.
We're best friends.
I mean, he is my best friend, and yes, there are days that we get on each other's nerves, but there is no one else in this world that I would rather wake up and spend time with every single day of my life than this man right here. And we also learned it's not always the big things. It's not the anniversaries. It's not the big celebrations. It's the little everyday things. This man brings me coffee every single morning. I sleep later than him because I work late at night. And every single day he brings me coffee. It's the going for walks and he kisses me goodbye and hello every time we walk in the house. It's those little things that keep sustaining us.
Yes, yes.
I got
Go
an
ahead,
inside baseball question.
Okay.
Married 16 years, going
Yep.
on 17. So I'm halfway to where y'all are.
Okay.
How did you learn to fight fair?
Well, we're still learning. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the right answer.
And so that's the thing is that this is a journey that it's a continual process. We're still learning each other. Like
That's right.
we're not even going to sit here and say, oh, we're perfect.
No.
We have arguments. And we're learning. The other thing we have to learn is that I'm not who I was and he's not who he was 30 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So every, you know, we're relearning each other all the time.
But John, you made a good point though. And
glad you said
the
that.
first thing is making that decision that we do need to fight fair, recognizing that, you know, you can be fighting unfairly. And if this is your person, why would you do something like that to them? So
That's right.
acknowledging that, you know, that is one of the rules. Hey, we can argue and we can be upset, but there are some rules here. At the end of the day, I love you and I can be as mad as I want to be at you, but I know in a few minutes it's all going to be good. Maybe you're going to take a nap. We're going to wake up and it's going to be a better day. But starting with that, fight fair.
Let me tell you the other little thing that we've heard, and I'm going to try this on the next time we have a disagreement. Take off all your clothes and just start walking back and forth in front of them.
I make you mad tonight.
Man, it's hard to argue naked. I'm just saying.
That's great. I love that, Sean. I love that, Sean. Okay, so a quick question, and again, if anybody has questions, make sure you're dropping them in the chat on the live stream. So I imagine that there are many men who, in learning that their girlfriend or ex-girlfriend has a child with not, you know, I hear a lot of, I ain't raising nobody else's child. You know, how, you know, what is that for you, Marcus? What was that softening of the heart? And what would you maybe offer to men who perhaps are missing out on their forever person because they've already made a decision of what it's supposed to look like and what they're not willing to do in terms of loving a child?
So I completely get that. And I can be honest and say one of the reasons that I did turn her away was I did feel like that. And it was the moment that I met him and he was very young. But when I looked at him, I knew he needed a good father and role model in his life, and I didn't have that. John, you and Terrace talked about it earlier about modeling and what a lot of us don't have. And I knew if it wasn't me, he may not have that, and I could be that person. And he and I had growing up with him, I lucked up. The kid was a superstar football player and, went all the way to a D1 career. So it was a ball for me. And I was at every practice, every game, every teacher conference, even a couple of plays I got him out of because he didn't want to sing or hop up on stage. But to any guy who has that, just think that you would be raising a model of yourself. And if you are a solid person, you're going to bring another solid person up, and the legacy that you will create with that goes beyond blood.
Yeah.
I want to share this real quick. So in our
Please.
world, in our space, we don't make any sort of differentiations. We are who we are, and
That's right.
we don't use any other terminology.
No steps, none of that.
This is we are all family, period. That's the way we've raised our children, and this is how we're building our legacy through all three of our sons.
Would love that. Love that. Marcus, you mentioned that you didn't have that model coming up. Aside from you being a man of the oldest and the coldest, which that cloth you're cut from, at a young age, you made a decision that right? That was life-changing for you. What was it within you, or where did that come from, being that wasn't a model you had?
A little bit my older brother. He got married just a little while before me. I lost him last year, but my brother was married a few months before us. So he celebrated an anniversary just before us every year. I think as a young child, I looked up to him. My dad, who I have a great relationship with now, and I've always had a really good relationship, he always felt like he didn't do for me, but many times my dad was the example of what not to do. And so by virtue of him making mistakes, I didn't. My dad was divorced several times. There were plenty of times in my life when, I'll be honest, either of us could have said, I give up, I'm not doing this. And I said, well, what would my dad do? Okay, don't do that. And that helped me significantly. And I joke with him about that now. But I think I picked the right woman, and I made a decision that this was going to work no matter what. And by making that decision, there was no question. There wasn't the possibility of, if I get mad, I'm out the door. And that is important to make that decision.
I love that. I love that. Well, I knew that this conversation was going to fly by. As we wrap, I have one last question for each of you. And then I'm going to ask you to tell everybody how they can tap in with at This Is Love and to stay connected with you. But considering our premise tonight, what does Black love is the revolution mean to you?
For us, or I'll say for me, it's about celebrating Black love. It's about helping to build that legacy through our family. I grew up in a household where I came from a long line of people who are married and have been married. He did not, and we've made this choice to make sure we're building this legacy, and we're sharing that with our children and helping them with the tools to continue to build that, because we think it's so important.
For me, it is supporting your partner and supporting their weaknesses. She made the comment that I bring her coffee. I'm a morning person, and sometimes my wife struggles. So for me, helping her with that cup of coffee is giving her the lift that she needs to get her day started. And I think as a couple, we match each other. We support each other, and where I'm weak, she's strong, and vice versa. And I think that helps us be better together.
Love that.
33 years can't be wrong.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Marcus. Please, how can the community stay in touch with you?
Well, you can visit our website, which is andthisislove.co, or you can follow us on Instagram, which is and.this.is.love. so you can see it out, spelled out, a period in between each one of those words. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and for having a platform to celebrate love, Black love, and so positively. So thank you both for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Sean.
for being
Thank you,
part of it.
Marcus. Beautiful conversation. Thank you so much.
You.
Take care, y'all.
Excellent, excellent. All right, everybody. That was amazing. Thank you again to Sean and Marcus. And now it is time for the main event. Also, make sure that you tap in if you would like to come up at the end. We always have our America's Hot Sauce Tribe and Vibes, where anyone who would like to, at the very end of the program, can hop on the stage. Forgive us. Thank you for your patience. We are running a few minutes behind schedule. Thank you to all of our speakers for your patience as well. But it is time. It is time. It is time, John.
Hey, for what we've all been waiting for.
Yes,
No,
the
this has been great.
main event. It has been awesome. Everything has been great.
Yeah.
Latera, Sean, Marcus, Regina came through.
Let's
Greg.
go.
Marriage readiness. Marriage
Woo.
readiness.
My
Okay.
favorite topic.
This is our 5th signature all Black husbands panel of all Black men, all Black husbands who are happily married to Black women. And I'll say I started this first on Clubhouse with, selfishly, to be honest, this was like post breakup during the pandemic, in part because some of the narratives that I've heard in my dating life, some of it we just touched on. I didn't have that example. I'm not sure if I can do it. Any number of things that, or I don't see myself getting married. And I thought as we context everything else in terms of the impact of marriage, the positive impact on our community, on social outcomes, on health outcomes, on our economic outcomes, I thought to have the idea to bring together a group of Black husbands who are happily married to Black women to create more positive narratives, understanding, and to talk about the benefits of Black marriage. So let's bring to the stage Justin Giles, Terrence P. Elmore, Dr. Theo Name, and Greg Corbin. And as they come to the stage, I will start with Justin. Justin Giles, an Ivy League graduate of Cornell University. Justin started his own real estate investing business at the age of 21 and went on to become a self-made multimillionaire at the age of 28. However, Justin's journey was not a straight line. Justin had to pull himself out of financial ruin first. The market crash of 2008 left him with horrible credit, no income, and a foreclosure and possible bankruptcy. During that hard period, Justin never gave up on himself nor his passion for real estate. Justin's hardships and failures taught him valuable lessons. Today, Justin is a best-selling author, has acquired over 400 real estate deals, currently holds an 8-figure real estate portfolio, and most importantly, is building a family legacy as a husband and father to 2 sons. Now, we have Terrence P. Elmore. There's Terrence in the room. Terrence P. Elmore is a husband, author, poet, and podcast host who's doing his part to spread love in a world that seems to be full of hate. One poem, one podcast, and one message at a time. Terrence is the author of Love Letters and the Essence of Love. Both poetry collections are centered around love because he recognized a need to distinguish the difference between real love and misrepresented love. His third book, Pain is Not Our Only Paintbrush, gives hope and resiliency through the eyes of a Black man. And I'll tell you, it's very good. I have that. I have a copy of that. And then on to Dr. Theo Name. Excuse me. Please pardon the interruption. Here's Theo's bio. Dr. Theo is an entrepreneur, physician, and family man passionate about excellence in both business and life. He graduated from Cornell University, where he excelled in chemistry and chemical biology before earning his medical degree from Harvard Medical School. He completed his plastic and reconstructive surgery training in the prestigious Harvard Plastic Surgery Program, followed by an aesthetic surgery fellowship in Australia, further refining his expertise in advanced cosmetic techniques. Together with his wife, Sandy, Theo has built a life rooted in love, faith, adventure, and shared ambition. As parents to two children, they prioritize creating a home filled with curiosity, creativity, discipline, and joy, balancing busy professional lives with meaningful family experiences and travel around the world. Whether mentoring others, building new ventures, or spending quality time with his family, Theo believes success is ultimately measured by impact, legacy, and the people closest to you. And last but certainly not least, Greg Corbin. Greg Corbin is a father, husband, son, and brother. As a humanitarian and multifaceted professional, Greg blends his roles as an educator, executive, coach, poet, and hip hop enthusiast to drive meaningful change. A graduate of Lincoln University, he co-founded Brainchild Inspiration Group LLC, where he leads a team dedicated to empowering educators with culturally relevant teaching tools and nurturing the next generation of change makers. He is also the vice president of affiliate services for the National Cares Mentoring Movement. And as a poet, Greg has shared stages worldwide with luminaries like Sonia Sanchez, Mos Def, and Nikki Giovanni. His work in artistry as a nonprofit executive has been featured on platforms such as HBO, BET, CNN, and TED Talks. Welcome to the stage, Justin, Greg, Theo, and Terrence. Thank you so much for being here. Woo-hoo.
Man, I need to do more with my life. That's all I heard in all these bios. Like, these brothers are busy. My
Yes,
God, it's
indeed.
phenomenal.
Welcome to the stage. So we are going to jump right in. Thank you for your patience. I realize that we are a bit behind our timeline here, but we are excited to get into this panel discussion. And I had the chance to chat with each of you prior to this event, along with John. And the premise of this panel has always been Black husbands who are happily married to Black women, and to create more positive narrative example, and to discuss the benefits of that. So I'm just going to dive right in. Each of you being the successes that you are in life. Imagine having options, because we're going to have this conversation about options. I'm going to start by asking you, each of you, to say who you are and why, in the midst of options, of all the other backgrounds of women in the world, you chose to marry a Black woman. I'm going to start with you, Justin.
Okay, so Justin Giles here. And as far as saying who I am, I think you already gave my bio, so I don't think I need to say anything else. But why I chose a Black woman is because I'm Black American. So I've dated a lot and I've dated other races, but I feel that a Black woman pretty much embodies what I can relate to. And if you look at couples and you look at other people that end up meshing culturally, people get along because they get along based off of their background. So for me, being a Black male and a Black American, and my parents growing up with the Jim Crow South, and seeing how we get treated in corporate America, seeing how we get treated throughout America, I got somebody I can lean on and talk to and say, hey, I got mistaken for the help today. Oh, you too? I did as well. I mean, we can relate. So the reason why I had to choose a Black woman is because I needed somebody that not only I can relate to, somebody I can lean on, but somebody that fits me culturally. And that's really important for family.
I love that. I love that.
Beautiful
Okay.
stated.
Anybody who wants to jump in next? Why don't we go to you, Greg?
Ooh, oh man. I love what Justin said. He talked about alignment, basically, right? Finding somebody you have a lot in common with, but they understand what you're going through, what you're navigating on a day-to-day basis. Have similar cultural roots. They know what it's like to be from maybe an urban arena, right? Like just growing up in certain spaces. So I think it really, for me, it was more about somebody who gets me. And I never really dated outside of my race. I'm not going to say I didn't meet with other races or ethnicities, but my strongest focus was Black women.
Excellent. Dr. Theo.
Yeah, and I'll echo what everyone has said. Just somebody who, marriage is hard enough, right? And finding somebody who's well aligned, somebody whose values and principles, background, I mean, even down to little things like dancing. My wife and I enjoy dancing, right? And so having that background and being able to say, hey, we grew up with this type of music, those are all things that kind of power our relationship and also shared values, right? So, for example, my wife and I recently got into skiing, right? I didn't grow up skiing. So it was nice to meet somebody who similarly was trying to figure out some of these areas and navigate some of these spaces to be able to kind of share stories and kind of grow together in that way.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Okay. And Terrence.
Pretty much the same thing. Whenever I saw myself being married, I just always saw myself being married to a black woman. I've only dated black women, so I guess I was already on that path. But I mean, it's having somebody who can relate to you, somebody who can understand, like, certain things, microaggressions you have in the workplace or microaggressions you have in the store. Somebody who can understand that and have like that hidden language where, you see something, you kind of look at each other and be like, it's that type of thing.
Mm,
Okay.
I
And I'll
love it.
ask a quick follow-up question to that. One, I would ask each of you to answer how long you've been married. And then Terrence just touched on something. He talked about whenever I pictured myself being married. My question is, did you always have a vision for being married? Did you grow up with that? Or was it some point in adulthood you found you had a change in mindset that maybe you didn't always think you would be married, but you found it to be beneficial? And I'll start with Terrence. How long have you been married, and did you always see yourself as being married?
It will be 8 years coming this September, and I've always saw myself as a husband. I don't know when it started, but ever since I was a little boy, that was just something that I don't know, man. I felt it in my soul that I was supposed to be a husband. So
We love that. We love that. Okay, go ahead, Theo.
Yeah, I always saw myself as a husband, and it started for me, honestly, the first time I saw the Cosby Show, right? Seeing a model of an excellent black family, the kids and everything, and it gave me an instant visual. So one of the things that I think is our generation, we need to model that for the next generation. So, a lot of times, even on my social media platform, I'll post about my wife or the kids because the Cosby Show is not relevant to today's time, but somebody else coming up needs to see an example of what a good relationship or a good marriage looks like. So that's what did it for me. And interestingly, growing up in New York City, it was a lot of the hip hop that I listened to that almost steered me away from it, to the point where I thought, hey, what? I can live this life. But ultimately, when I met the one, I knew that fit the image that I originally intended for myself.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Greg. Amen.
Yo, when you said the Cosby Show, it was between the Cosby Show, Family Matters, and then Martin and Gina, right? Like, but mainly watching. I had two parents in the household, and watching my parents interact with one another. Even playing the game of life. I always wanted to be married in the game of life. If anybody played the game of life,
Yeah,
I
I
always,
remember that.
I would be. I was like, no, I'm not gonna be alone, right? Like, for me, located in my my purpose and my vision and watching people have this relationship with romance and emotional intelligence went really really far for me. So I would say, as somebody who's been married 8 years, I really anchor myself in thinking about what I was as a young person before I was even like 7 years old. So it's very interesting how your environment can influence you, but more importantly, how home can.
Indeed, indeed. And I'm sorry, Theo, did you share how long you and Sandy have been married?
We've been married 11 years, but it took 7 years just to get the first date. So if you add that, my kids would be grown and in college by now.
I
You
love
work
that.
for it.
I love that. Yes, no, Theo definitely has a perseverance story in pursuing his
Yeah.
wife. His wife.
Hey.
Okay, and then Justin, for you as well.
So I've been married 9 years this coming July. So we're gonna celebrate our 9th anniversary. this July. But I've always wanted to be married. I mean, I've always felt that in order to really be successful, you got to have a good partner. So just picking that right partner is something that is going to take some time. But I've always wanted marriage for myself. I always wanted kids, and I wanted to have a good partnership with somebody that aligns with me, that we can raise our children together so that we can accomplish whatever goals we want as a family, and build a legacy so that that can be passed on to the kids. So I don't want to do that by myself. Got to have a partner for that. So I always want to be married.
I love that. I
So,
love that.
so, brothers, V, I gotta ask, right? So, I love the answers y'all gave. They're very polished. They're very gentlemanly like, but let's be honest, brothers. You weren't reared, socially engineered, programmed, or encouraged by society to be married. Theo, you said it. The hip hop we listened to said just the opposite. So while it may have been a desire personally, when did you feel like you could express that openly in communication with your boys in context of being young men out here getting it?
I can take that first if it was cool.
Please,
Yeah,
please,
go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
please.
All right. So I came out of college. I worked for myself since I came out of college. And
Mm,
I pretty much dated a lot. Like I dated a lot. I would actually probably go out maybe 4 times a week. I'd probably get maybe
Yeah.
5 numbers a night.
I
4 times a
can't.
week. That's maybe,
kill him,
20
I
different
know.
numbers a week,
Justin.
and trying to keep
killing him.
up. I was bad, like man, like my wife
Hunter.
knows. I was horrible. But I think what it is you know, dating that much, and then when you meet the one, you're meeting all these different personalities, you're seeing all these different people, and just
Yeah.
like one of the other gentlemen said, is you're worth more than what you can do. You're worth more than what your pockets are. That stuck with me because you know how social media is. They try to make it seem like it's all about what you can do, but I'm 42, so when I started out, I was in my 20s, so that was a different time. Now it's just horrible. I couldn't even imagine dating at this time. Like my God. But
Man.
I think that having that experience and being able to see those personalities, see all the different things that are out there. When I met my wife, which when I met her, by the way, I was dating a lot. She was dating, I was dating. And then I thought to myself, you know what? The woman of my dreams is right in front of me. But because I was dating so much and I was seeing that, okay, you know what? I need to kind of chill out because you get tired. You get tired of going out and paying for all these dinners or having to meet all these different people. And that's when I said, you know what, I'm tired of this. Like, she's the one because she stood out on a lot of different things, which I can get into later. But
Mhm.
yeah, just having that experience, I think, helps a lot of brothers end up getting married because of the fact that they've been there, done that.
Yeah.
My
And
opinion.
it's funny, Justin and I were similar vintage during the formative years of college. So, I can attest to that. But, one of the things that really made me change, right, is I always knew I was going to be a man of substance someday. But during the formative years, I was not a man of substance. So when I met my wife and she was a woman of substance, it was a clear decision, right? Do I evolve to be the man that she needs me to be? Right? Or do I stay, almost the child that I am and enjoy what I'm doing? And, that's part of the reason it took 7 years, right? Because even when I was ready to evolve, she didn't think I was that man of substance, right? It took about 7 years, literally, of friendship, getting to know each other before, I finally had my chance. But I think part of it is really what you're looking for, right? So everybody knows what they want in their partner, but you have to evaluate who you are and make sure you're ready to meet that person.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Love it. Beautiful.
Terrence, Greg, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'll say that, man, honestly, having conversations with my friends in like middle school, high school, and even college, like marriage was the ultimate goal. Even when you were dating, we would have conversations about just like you can't be sitting here dating the rest of your life, but who wants to be doing that the rest of your life? So we always had those conversations. Well, at least the brothers I had conversations with, it's like, how long you gonna be dating? How long you gonna be doing this? You want to wake up in the bed by yourself when you're 60 years old?
You was having
No,
that
that's
conversation in middle
fair.
school?
I mean,
Hey, we used to have
Hold on.
serious conversations, man.
That's deep, bro. Yo,
Ter-
you Your
Well,
bros
I was
are
gonna
on
say,
another
Terrence,
level.
why don't you share? And I don't think everybody share where you're from because I think there is somewhat of a trend here.
Yeah,
But
I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, but I live in Columbia.
and then
I'm from
go ahead, Greg.
I'm from Philly.
And I'm in Charlotte.
And I'm from Atlanta.
All right, all right. So there's a little Southern hospitality here, but Greg, please go ahead
That
and
is a
add.
theme.
Yeah, you know what, Terrence, you spoke a lot of wisdom in it as well. I think there's something in our spirits we know, but we get tainted by society a little bit because of socialization, right? Theo, you brought up music, and I think we grew up in a time where we could separate reality from the illusion that music can paint. And I just remember being different. I'll go vulnerable for y'all real quick. I almost graduated high school a virgin, right? And some of it, there's two factors here. One was because I went to a high school that had a very high STD rate and HIV rate. And that was the 90s, and they spoke on these things. The other thing is my dad pulled me to the side. He said, listen, you bring somebody home pregnant, you moving out. And I was like, what? Like I was 15. He was like, I don't care. And I think the other thing was growing up and seeing there was a daycare in my high school, and I saw responsibility, and it was so reinforced, and that let me know how powerful Black women were before I could articulate it. We're talking about teenage mothers with one or two children showing up, going to school, and letting other people take care of their children. And they removed those programs from the school probably at the turn of 2001, but they were necessary in a lot of our environments. And so I think I had a lot of things that reinforced responsibility and what I can do with my body that really put me in that position. I think it was like shortly after prom that I had lost my virginity. And I remember coming home and telling my dad, I did it, right? And it was interesting. I don't know how my father really thought about that moment, but he you more protection disclosed that to myself. But I think what was most important was I waited so long that I became more intentional about what I did and how I made decisions. And how I responded to breakups was a lot different to my counterparts. And I just wasn't somebody that would be out there wilding. And I had my moments, but I was very thoughtful and mindful about what I was doing because I wanted a certain circumstance with my life. If I ended up married, I didn't want to have children outside of it. I didn't want to have the responsibilities some of my friends had, where they had one or two children before they met the person of their dreams. I didn't want that. And I respected that. But at the same time, I saw what came with that. And so I think being able to pay attention and be observant really gave me opportunities to make healthy decisions.
Excellent, excellent. Well, actually, Greg, you just touched on something. Everybody touched on this. That would go into our next question. The talk about the responsibility of choosing to be married, and what positive difference in your life has that decision to be a husband made in your life versus choosing to remain single. So the responsibility of choosing to be married and the positive difference that decision's made in your life. Anybody can start. Well, I'll start with you, Greg, because you're unmuted.
Oh, darn. I was trying to pace myself. I think there is power in focus and concentration and being able to focus on one person. Justin, you spoke to being, scattered and the exhaustion that comes from dating. And it's not just exhaustion with finances, it's also the exhaustion with the mental power it takes to manage people, the emotional power it takes to manage yourself and your attachment styles. It takes a lot. And I think when you put that into one person and you start to really invest in the soil and understand that that person outside of you, when you are dating and you become more serious and you get through that courting phase, you realize like, oh, we're creating another seed outside of ourselves and we're blooming something powerful here. And the marriage in front of people is one thing, but the investment of time and energy and focus on the whole person development that it takes to be married, it's like a third person outside of you. It's a third entity. And I think that focus is so powerful. It's not easy, by any means. It's just not easy. There's so many different things coming at you. But there's something about being with one person and really committing to that one person every day.
Beautiful, Greg. Okay. Terrence, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, so first of all, it's one thing that I don't think that many of us thought about, but just like when you update that emergency contact and it's no longer your parents, you have that person, your person being your emergency contact, and it also signifies that that person is who covers you in prayer, covers your emotions. You cover them. It's made a very big difference in my life as far as having somebody that I'm responsible for. I make better decisions being married. You might get a little hot-headed out in the store and you have to think about it. You have somebody you have to take care of. You have somebody you have to make it home to. So it's a lot of things that benefit you being married. And for me, it's just really having my person, man. She's my best friend. I love her dearly.
We love that. Beautiful. Justin, I saw you come off mic.
Yeah, and can you ask the question one more time? I just want to make sure ask the question one more time real quick.
Sure. I was going to say, talk about the responsibility of choosing to be married and what positive difference that decision has made in your life versus staying single.
I would say being married helps you be more successful because for choosing the right partner, you guys can grow together, you can build together, you can hold each other accountable. You're going to do certain things to where, like when the other gentleman said, is that if you're scattered, if you're just multitasking, it's so much wasted energy. And if you can put all that energy into one relationship, imagine how far you'll go. So for me personally, I know a lot of people, they might not like mixing business and pleasure. And me and my wife, we grow businesses together. In fact, my wife is heading up another business that we started up last year that's been growing exponentially. So, we help each other, and it's a team, and it's something that I feel that would be hard to achieve if you don't have a partner, or if you can trust a partner, in my particular case, to where we're growing businesses. Because even when I was running my own businesses in my early 20s, and I met my wife at 26, around 28, she's loaning me money to help me do deals. Like, she said, hey, I'm gonna quit my job at AT&T and T and I'm gonna come work with you in real estate. And then she started helping me run my business and hold people accountable. So it was a partnership that helped me grow, but I had, of course, to, think about the fact that how can I be better? Because if I don't have a partner and I'm just multitasking, I look at marriage as a true partnership on all different levels, not just romantically, but in general.
Excellent.
I
Go
mean,
ahead, Theo.
I love what everybody's, had to say. And I think the only thing I'll add is, especially in life, when you know who you're meant to be, and it's going to be a difficult pathway, for example, going through surgical residency and medical school, knowing that those are all going to be challenges, it's nice to have somebody who's with you for the long haul, not just with you at the end of the destination when things have worked out, but somebody who is with you from the very beginning, and also somebody who's going to hold you accountable, right? When you say, this is who I'm going to be, this is who I'm meant to be, somebody who's going to check your math and make sure that when you deviate from the standards that you set for yourself, they're there to verify that this is indeed what you said you were going to do, or you're falling off. And, in my practice, probably about 20% of patients having surgery, believe it or not, are getting back on the dating scene. So I get to see, with plastic surgery, all the ways that marriages fall apart. And it's such a liability when a marriage falls apart that it's really important to choose who you're meant to be with, right? And make sure. I mean, this is a task that greater than 50% of people who get married end up in divorce. So this is challenging, right? So choosing a partner who's going to hold you accountable, holding yourself accountable, and being the person that you are meant to be is all something that's easier to do when you meet somebody who's a good fit for you.
Yes. I love that. Well, we talked about a kind of a follow-up to that. What work did each of you need to do in order to get to the place where you were ready to be married? I see
That's an
Greg
upfront
smiling.
question. That's an upfront question right there.
Yes.
How did you get ready for a relationship? Who'd you have to call? Cut it off. Don't call me no more. I'm done. I'm out the game. Well,
I'll go first.
yeah, please, please.
Um, so with me, when I decided out, because we were friends first, and so when I decided that I wanted to pursue her, even at the friendship level, I wasn't talking to or dating anybody else. So I started from a clean slate from before we even got romantic because I wanted to have that, like everyone said before, like if you're multitasking, it's one thing to multitask, but then you also get comfortable doing that. And so if you start off with that mindset of this is the only person that I'm talking to, the only person that I'm interested in, your focus is so much better. And so that's what I did.
Yeah, I mean, I can go next. I mean, I believe I have high standards, but my wife has even higher standards, and she's always had those standards. So no matter how good I thought I was, when I met her, in her mind and her opinion, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be the person that she needed. And over 7 years, which is what it took of just being friends, I got the chance to figure out what it was I needed to be, right, to become the man that she wanted. Somebody who was faithful, somebody who was loyal, somebody who was always going to put family first. And it wasn't until I was ready to show her that I could say, hey, I'm ready to be in this relationship. And to be honest with you, I mean, and somebody said this earlier, after 7 years of friendship, you really get to study somebody's character, not just the version of themselves I want you to see. You get to see the good and the bad. And once you got the opportunity to evaluate all of that and you decide this person is the person that best matches your energy, then you commit wholly. And so that's what I did. And, 7 years of friendship, 4 years of dating, 11 years of marriage, I have no doubt that I'm meant to be with the one that I am with the one I'm meant to be with.
So, real quick, Theo, was there a journey of self-development, personal growth, therapy, expansion? What was it that got you there, though?
I'll take you back through my background. So I grew up traditional West African background, very conservative, go to school, be a doctor. And then along the way through New York City and college, I pledged Omega. I became a different version of what my parents raised, right? And when I met my wife, I understood clearly that the version of myself that existed the day I met her was not going to be good enough, right? I mean, I had you know, pictures on Facebook that were scantily clad. I was living my best life. And so the moment, I knew she was the one, I had to really become who I was meant to be, right? I had to commit. I mean, it was the first time I put my government name on Facebook, commit in a public relationship with her. It's the only person I've ever asked out. I mean, formally, will you be, my girlfriend? Because that is the standard that she has for herself, and that's what was required. So it's interesting when you meet somebody, right, who will only accept the very best version of you, right? When you meet a lot of other people who might accept any other version of you, and you meet that person who demands the very best that you have, there's something special there. And to me, that's the person I needed to commit to.
Appreciate you.
I would say, first of all, Theo, scantily clad is hilarious.
An Omega scantily clad. I don't even know if those
Omega
words should go
scantily
together in the same
clad.
sentence. That's wild.
That sounds familiar.
We not going like that wasn't hilarious, but I appreciate your vulnerability, Theo. I literally had to write letters. I kind of lost her in the beginning. I knew the moment I met her, this could go somewhere. I was like, oh, this is wifey. Right. And the things that were happening were so magical. And I think she was so fearless at embracing what was possible with me. It scared the life out of me. Like I was like, oh God, and I was still dating. I had a couple people I was talking to, nothing serious, but I would go out with them, and nothing felt the same after I met her. And then we had a couple exchanges, and certain words were said around like what love and things like that. I think she mentioned I love you, and I froze, and I ended up having to really reach out to certain friends who could hold space for me. And it was one friend that said, Greg, I think if you want her, you need to write letters. because it was harder to touch with her. And she will tell you this. And I need to keep writing letters. If I'm gonna be honest, I need to keep writing letters, right? The way you get someone is the way you keep them. And so I think what was interesting is she didn't even know the letters were coming. And one day she returned home from traveling, and it was like 8 letters that she had no clue. She thought I was just ignoring the situation, and the rest is history from there. And then I think the second step was looking at my issues around commitment. I had to go to therapy. I had to dig deep. I had to look at scarcity. I had to look at self-worth. I had to look at external validation seeking behaviors. I had to look at anger and rage and how to, hold space for other people. I had to do a lot of work to sustain what we were building. And of course, it goes both ways, but I really took it seriously. And I think the next step was that premarital counseling, having elders step in and really mediate certain conversations to amplify and accelerate maturity was powerful.
I see,
All
Greg.
right.
Thank you, Greg.
So for me, and being from Atlanta, and just Atlanta is a whole different beast in itself. It's just anybody knows about Atlanta. Atlanta is everything you probably think it is, and more. And it's a lot going on. And the development for me was growing up in Atlanta and always being out, always um like I was partying since I was 14. When my brother turned 16, he got his license. Oh yeah, we was out. So I went to my first teen club. I was 13. My brother was at Clark Atlanta for a semester. When he was in college, I was in college. So I started to experience college life when I was in high school. So either way, so just all those years of seeing all these different personalities, the one thing about my wife, when I met her, we always got along. We never had a breakup. We never argued. She was always supportive. She was never confrontational. Even when she needed to be confrontational, she wasn't confrontational. And I realized these are the traits of somebody that I could truly be with because of my experience being with, dating and seeing other women's personalities. We didn't mesh. We wouldn't necessarily get along. But for her, it was like we never skipped a beat. And that's when I knew that, you know what? Okay, this one's the one. And like I said, that was really just based off of um, my previous experiences, and understanding that if I did so much in my past and I met somebody that seems amazing, she probably the one. So that's how I ended up just being thankful and grateful to God that I found somebody that truly was for me.
Love that.
Amazing.
Love that. Well, Justin, you just touched on something that makes me think about the always ever needed conversation around communication. So we always like to have, as we in this forum, a few takeaways for our community. And you talked about you and your wife getting along, there not being a confrontation, but yet still being able to a need to communicate and work through things. Because you maybe speak a little bit about that communication style and how are you resolving conflict without necessarily having to be conflictual, if that makes sense.
Sure. So me and my wife, we do have disagreements. I mean, of course, you're gonna have disagreements, but we talk about it. So she'll check me, but she'll check me in a nice way, or she'll check me in a very Justin, I don't think that's right, or Justin, I don't think we should do this, or but she'll do it in a nice way to where it's chilled. Me, same way. I'll put in my 2 cents, but I try to be uh, cognizant of her feelings, and I try to make sure that I'm being tactful when I'm saying things so I don't come off offensive. And even if something does come off offensive, I'll apologize right away, and she knows this. I'm saying, hey, I'm sorry, sweetie, I didn't mean it like that. Or vice versa. I'm probably more so the one that might come off offensive because I don't really get offended that easy. She might get offended easier than I do. But we just talk it out. So in regards to communication wise, we always make sure No one's raising their voices. No one's trying to belittle anybody else. Because when people do that, in my opinion, they might keep on doing it. And that's something that you don't want to bring into a relationship, because then that becomes into, like it could be a form of verbal abuse. Because when my parents were married growing up, they would argue all the time. My dad would say certain things that I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a better version of myself than my dad is. Because my dad, I didn't know when my parents even stayed married. Honestly, they ended up getting divorced when I was around 19. But seeing how a relationship shouldn't be, and seeing how my parents argued literally throughout my entire life, I told myself, same thing with my brother. We said that we're not going to be like that. We're not going to be like that. So like even my parents, I barely saw them kiss like my entire life you know so it's just that when you grow up seeing a relationship that isn't that great, you want to make sure that you don't do the same things or repeat the same mistakes that maybe your parents had made. So that's why I always took with me to make sure that I'm doing things the right way this go around, so that my kids can see that, hey, my parents love each other. They're always affectionate towards each other, and they'll see what a healthy marriage is.
Love that. Love that. Beautiful. Anyone want to add about communication?
I'll say this. We often talk about it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a marriage. And so I think I'm listening to y'all and I'm checking myself and I'm creating an accountability list. Like y'all don't even understand how helpful this is for me, because I do think, yeah, we can come up here and present, but I love how vulnerable we're all being and talking about how to navigate marriage. It takes moments of recalibration. It really does. It really does take some centering. And, when you're exhausted, when you're fatigued, oh, yeah, you can ramp up. You can definitely have those moments with your partner. It's no doubt about that, right? I think the other piece is, Justin, like you, I remember hearing my parents argue to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I was scared at like 10 years old, like they're going to get a divorce. Like I was literally scared. Man, it was like they didn't argue a lot, but sometimes there were some moments my mom would say something, you're gonna be satisfied till I leave you. And I was like, oh my God, no, don't leave. The Cosbys never left each other, right? Like, and so I think for me I have moments where I actually may channel my father in some way in those dynamics, right? And poke or something like that, right? Because I'm not perfect, but I am definitely working on what do we do when we're fatigued and stressed. And it's easier for internal trauma and bad memories in our cells and somatic system, nervous system come to the surface, if we be honest, right? So like uh I'm not what's the word I'm missing? I'm not excluded from certain experiences or certain behaviors because I I've become this person. That inner tension, that inner child is always there. And so, just as much as we nurture marriage, I'm going to encourage anybody who's married, especially my Black men, the husbands, to continue to nurture yourself, because we are part of setting the tone for the house. We are part of that for the child. And it's very important. So, just thinking about, my dad and the conversation I wish we could have today, because he's been going over 20 years. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, fellas.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, that was great. That was really phenomenal. I love everything you guys are saying. And I think when it comes to communication, part of it is doing the work of figuring out how to communicate before you get to the boiling point, right? By the time, if you're trying to figure out how to communicate when tempers are hot or something is wrong, you've kind of missed the boat. And I think for me and my wife, the key is having a conversation. So if I do something wrong and you notice it, here's how I would prefer if we address it. Do we address it in front of the kids? Do we act like everything is cool in front of the kids and then go off to the side and figure it out? If I have something to share, does it help you if I share it right away? Or would you just prefer to get over the situation? Let's find a quiet time, reflect on what it is we need to talk about. And if you can do that and figure out the communication styles and figure out the inner workings of your partner before you get to the boiling point, you can get to that boiling point and say, hey, babe, I know we've talked about this. So I got something I want to share. It's nothing personal. It's not an attack. I still love you. Is this a good time? If not, when's a better time? That way you can have effective communication. And then even if that evolves over time, you want to be able to go back and say, I used to like that way, but I don't really like the way that feels. Let's change how we communicate. So, that's kind of my tip and how to kind of move forward and navigate a marriage in today's society.
Love that. I love that. Oh, you touched on something really key right there. Maybe it's not that moment to have that conversation. Step back, come back later. That's a big one. Deal. Terrence.
And I'll just add this. When you're having a conversation, I like to say make sure that you're having actual real communication because, you know, something you say can be taken out of context or something you hear could be taken out of context. So I always think it's good to have a conversation about what was said. Sometimes, matter of fact, today, my wife thought I said something and she gave a response that didn't make sense to what I said. So I asked her what she thought I said. And if we were those type of people who were just jumpy and take offense and stuff, that could have started a whole argument. But she heard something different from what I said, and her response wasn't nasty. But just being able to have that conversation with her, like, well, what did you think I said? Like being able to have a conversation without taking offense. Like I said, you could say something one way, I could say something the same way, but we can mean two totally different things. And that's not going to be, all the years of your marriage. Those things could fluctuate or whatever, but being able to say, hey, what did you mean by that? And have an open dialect about it and just walk away with the understanding. You don't have to agree with, what each other said or what each other was thinking, but if you understand it and respect it, it'll go a whole long way.
Love that.
Yeah. I want to just add that there's been a couple of comments over the course of um, this gathering tonight from the brothers around what they saw their fathers do and choosing to not do that. Right, Justin, I know you mentioned it, and I know Later's mentioned it as well. I think one of the biggest things, I'm a child of divorce, a consistently recovering child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was 5. But I have a great relationship with my father, and I remember the arguments. I remember the physical arguments. I remember all of those things, and I've had the opportunity to ask him and talk to him about why he made decisions that he made. Um, and I think that was part of obviously me addressing child wounds. And I don't think a lot of brothers get a chance to do that, right? Especially if our fathers are not living still. But if they are, I think as a man, as a husband raising children, it's important to understand our fathers in the context of the decisions they were making as husbands, as fathers in a different era, time, and again with tools that their fathers didn't give them that we are the first generation to actually have. So I think there's so much value there, and I appreciate you brothers sharing that for sure this evening.
Yes, indeed. It's so rich. So actually, one other last piece here in thinking about communications and kind of overcoming challenges, but in this case, for this group that's here right now, maybe perhaps not a challenge on some of the conversation we had thus far. you know, Communication and supporting your partner, your wife, in her visions. So one of the kind of trends that I've seen or experienced is that as professional Black women, as ambitious Black women, as driven, as thoughtful, it could be seen as, "Oh, girl, you doing too much," or you end up you're in a relationship with someone that you're pursuing your goals, but he's not pursuing his goals, and so there's a drive to knock the other person down. What for each of you gives you the confidence to be with uh, a a woman with vision, with her own dreams and goals, and to put aside that sense of, if she's doing well, I need to compete or to take her down a notch, because we have some healing to do in our community around people being in relationship and knocking each other down so that the other person could feel better?
I can start first on this one because I'm a firm believer. Okay, can I go?
Let's go, Justin.
So I think that it is silly for men to try to keep their women in a certain place where they can excel, because if something was to happen to where, heaven forbid, I get into an accident and I can't do anything, why on earth would I want to have my wife be a person that can't do nothing either? So now everything just goes down the tube. You want to have a person that, worst case scenario, they can take on and take the torch and carry on if something happens to you, or you guys can build together to where if something happens with your business, you can rely on her business. It makes all the sense in the world to have a partner that is really on your level or better. And you have a lot of men, I think, that are out there. Some of them are chauvinistic, some of them are kind of, small-minded, but I think that a lot of men that value intelligence will understand just how important it is to have a woman that is equally yoked with them, um, with intelligence, with drive, with ambition, and with goals, because that is going to help you have a safety net. But a wife that is doing so much, or a wife that is achieving, that is a safety net for any man. So, I mean, I think that it is silly for men to not want to support their spouse when it comes to those type of things.
Okay. Right. It's a word right there, Justin.
Yeah, I love the comments. I think sadly a lot of men or just people in general have been taught to put themselves above their families, right? Because if you put your family first, you're going to want both partners equally yoked, right? And I remember, I met my wife, we were interviewing for medical school together. She was coming out of Princeton. She became the head of women's cardiology in the hospital system here. Started the women's cardiovascular program, and within the first 3 years of our career starting our family, my job was to make sure that she could do everything possible to rise in that role, right? Whether that meant coming home, picking up the kids, cooking, cleaning. And I'll never understand men that feel like there's certain roles that are beneath them, to the point where their wife, when excelling in their own domain, would need to essentially come down in order to occupy these spaces, and vice versa. Now that she's working part-time, now she's doing a lot of that stuff, and I'm doing a whole lot more. But part of the foundation of success in marriage is based on sacrifice. And I think you have to find a partner that understands that you're willing to sacrifice yourself for the greater good, rather than putting yourself first for the sake of their ego. And I think it's unfortunate when a man feels like, in order to feel like he's doing well, his role should be to put somebody down rather than pushing somebody else up, and then having that person help them get even further. So.
Good. Well said, Theo. Well said. Go ahead. All right. All right. Terrence.
And yeah, I mean, we're a team. Like I don't understand that either. Like, you asked this woman to marry you. Why not make it work? Why not be a team? Why not build her up? Why not have her build you up? Why not work on these things together? If she is excelling here, cheer her on. Your time will come. When you're excelling there, she will cheer you on. I mean, you all are supposed to be a team. I always look at it crazy. Like, some people, they're in competition with their wives, and oh, she got this, so I gotta go do this next. Why? You weren't interested in it before. That's your teammate. She's not competition.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I hear that, Terrence. And I appreciate all of those comments, because I think sometimes sometimes I think there are men who are attracted to ambitious women, but then in actual relationship, they're actually more, their goal is to their goal is to change the woman to be, I guess, mediocre. I don't know how else to describe it. But you might, I've seen some brothers be consistently go after the ambitious woman, and then once they get her, they're like, oh no, this is too much. So we
Yeah.
appreciate the comments. We appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah,
I was
V,
going to say this before you wrap up on that, is that,
yeah.
see, you got too many smart people on this panel. That's the problem. You got too many high
We're not
intelligent
the
brothers on
average.
here. I guarantee you, you come out to Atlanta, you see these dudes standing on top of the couch in the club, they gonna be like, listen, I want a girl to look like this, ain't that bright, and it's gonna do what I tell them to do. So and you have a lot of people that, like I said, we had this conversation before when we talked offline, is that they deserve each other. You have women that are very materialistic, they want certain stuff, they don't really want to do nothing. You have guys that lead with their pockets to where say, hey, I can do all this, but the guys feel they feel inadequate as if the woman doesn't need them. So some men, they feel that, hey, I'm the man as long as you rely on me. And if you don't rely on me, then that's a problem. So I'm gonna make sure that you rely on me. And you see that a lot. But like I said, I think it's because you got too many smart brothers on this panel.
Well,
You can say what you want.
Brother Giles, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I think we also, there's a conversation to be had about socioeconomics, right? And it's a whole nother panel discussion. Because to your point, there's certain characteristics at socioeconomic levels below a certain income that it describe exactly what you're talking about. What Verneda, when and you and I have talked ad nauseum about this, but there's also the brother who chases the ambitious woman because that's alluring, because it matches something that he himself also possesses. But we're not accounting for his programming around marriage and roles and what he saw and what he believes the household should be. So it's cool while you out here doing your thing. But when we get married and now the household and legacy and I want children, I don't need you out here working 18, 20 hours a day. Like that's right. And we don't talk about that. And we don't have the language to talk about that because there's assumed roles and behaviors that come with the title of husband and wife. Right. So I understand. And there's a very good point about some brothers do not want to see their wife excel above them, make more than them. And what comes along, the energy that comes with that sometimes as well, because let's be honest, if you are successful as a woman in a male dominated space, the traits that are required to be successful in male dominated spaces are masculine. And can you code switch that off when you get home? And a lot of sisters, listen, we talk to a lot of sisters in UpFront who don't know how to do it because that wasn't part of their programming of go to school, get the degree, get a great job, work 30 years, retire and die and be successful. That wasn't in their code.
Right. Okay.
You see
And
what I'm saying?
now
So I'm
I'll
off
challenge
mine.
this
I'm
a
off
little
mine.
bit. No, I'm gonna challenge. I'm
Just
gonna
make a
throw the
comment real
challenge.
quick.
And of course, our panels can throw
Please
in
jump
there.
in.
Yeah,
Jump
John,
in.
listen,
Okay.
that was a great point, right? And
Go ahead, Theo.
as a father to a daughter, I'm going to guarantee that my daughter out earns almost any man she meets, right? So this is important, right? But I
Okay.
think women need to start
Yeah.
conversation on the beginning about gender roles, right? Let's just be clear. I'm going to have a career. This is what I'm going to do. How do you see us having this household work out? Because the work of managing a household is an entire job on its own. And what I see among the divorced couples is that the man wants the woman to be at home. She's working, but he also is cheap and doesn't want to pay for somebody else to handle the
Yeah,
household.
that's crazy.
So having that conversation up front is important because my daughter will out earn any guy that she meets, right? And this is the conversation I'm going to be having.
I love that. I love
that.
that. Well, you know what? That touches on something, Theo, because of that self-reliance and to John's point about women carrying, masculine energy and masculine traits. There is I think each of you touched on in a way creating space for your wife to be her full self and creating a sense of trust and where she can share life with you. She can trust in that. And I think sometimes it's challenging as a single woman to let go, unless almost to what Theo was saying. Until I feel that I'm with somebody for whom I can let go, it's me holding all the pieces up in the air. So I think that's really key, is that the partner coming into my life, I have to be able to see, trust, and know that I can, let that veil come down, because otherwise it's like, nah, you just jacking me up and now I done dropped the ball. that, that you weren't ready to catch? So
I want to first, my wife is a go-getter. She's assertive. John knows this since he's met her.
Big
She
Capricorn
is
energy.
all things entrepreneur, can build things from scratch, brave, consistent, all of that. And I want to point out something Terrence said. You're a team, right? And sometimes teams don't get to play together. Even in marriage, you can forget who you are because you're transforming on a year-to-year basis, sometimes month to month. When you get further deeper into your marriage, you realize you are not the same person, and you did not marry the person you married is probably gone. Like the remnants of them, the core is still there. But they've changed, you changed, and you have to be able to articulate that, express that, be mindful of it. And sometimes you can get lost in that journey. You have to remember you're a team and leaning on each other's strengths and protecting each other for those vulnerabilities. And I think that is clutch because we're not in that hyper patriarchal history that we come from, right? That we also downloaded through colonialism, right?
Come on, Greg.
We're in a different phase of the Americana as Black folk. And we're in a more independent phase where we're realizing and shedding those things and realizing that Black women are way different than any image, any story that's been told in the history books, in the religious books. Like in this country, we've been cultivated to be completely different. And a lot of us have an independent skill set. And so it's about learning to be codependent without losing ourselves, especially in marriage, and how to make that entity, that third party, work. Because to me, it's very spiritual, and it's its own rites of passage when a person really leans into it. So yeah, go ahead.
Come on, Greg. Come on, Greg, the poet, the poet. Okay, so this has been so fruitful. We have gone. Thank you all for staying. I know we have stayed the hour. John, I'm gonna check in with you because I have a last question. What do you think? You're muted. You're muted.
Of course I was. I have nothing. The defense rests. No, this has been a great conversation. I can't. I wish we had another hour, but please go ahead and wrap.
Yes, I as well. This is actually making me think of the Clubhouse days. We'd be in there 4 hours, 6 hours.
4-hour sessions,
easily
on a Tuesday.
Yes, and it just keep going. But no, this has been so fruitful. I think we've given so much to our community tonight. Last insight, one lesson that you would share. Picture yourself, not just what you would tell your younger self. Imagine that you are in a room with 20 or 30, young men, age 20 to 25. What is, one lesson that you would share that has helped you to sustain your marriage?
I'll go first. Be secure. Stay secure. Don't feel that your wife excelling or your wife making money or anything to that effect, or men looking at your wife or whatever, or business. Just stay secure. Like as long as you're secure and you know who you married, everything will be good. Once you lose that, you drop the ball.
All right.
Yeah, I would
Brother
look
Justin.
Yeah, marriage is such an endeavor, right? Greater than 50% end up in divorce. And so the idea that you're just going to meet somebody and that right person is just going to jump out and fit you is hard. So you have to vet that individual. The challenging part about marriage is you're meeting somebody at a stage in your life when you're trying to have fun, right? Then you're hoping they're going to be mature enough at the stage in your life when you may have a family or kids. And then when the kids leave, you're hoping now they're going to be more fun so that way you can enjoy that life after kids. It is such a challenge to find somebody who's going to fit into each and every one of those stages that you have to do the work. You have to take the time and ensure that they check off all those boxes. And more importantly, ensure that you check off all of their boxes, because this is a two-way street. And if it only works one way, it's not going to work at all.
Thank you, Theo.
I'll go. Terrence, just saw you come up first.
I'll say, always let her know when you're not okay. Like, I know it's easy for us to be like, I'm all right, but she can see when you're not okay. And letting her know when you're not okay, it'll surprise you because she'll have that answer for you to help you get to where you need to be.
I'll give you two things. No matter what the relationship is, a working relationship takes work. If you're not willing to work the relationship, it will not work. Therefore, any marriage is work. You get to choose your heart, but it's work. The second thing is, and we don't talk about this often, but this goes both ways. Be ready to negotiate and redefine what personal freedom looks like. Because when you have those children, you have to now think outside of yourself. When you get married, you have to think outside of yourself. So the idea of moving independently or raggedly, the habits that you have had, they have to be reformed, reframed. Some things have to be flushed out, but you are constantly negotiating what personal freedom is because you have chosen a path that is outside of you, but for you at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. And John is one of our original husbands. What would you add to that lesson?
Yeah, listen, to a room full of 20 and 25-year-olds, get it out your system now. Get it out your system, because when you are at the position or at the point where your career starts to kick in and your options start to expand, the world is going to serve you all of the things to bring you down and to your demise if you aren't discerning. So get it out your system. You don't want to have great career, whole lot of resources, and no discernment. That's a crash out waiting to happen. So make decisions now that aren't catastrophic, that you don't have to, continue to pay for later, so that when you do have the opportunity to meet a sister that is designed for you and that you are ready to receive and take care of, and be a partner for it, that you don't have any regrets, no, I wish I could have, no trying to live your second 20-year-old phase, all of those things, get it out your system.
Love that. Love that. Thank you, John. Thank you, Justin, Theo, Terrence, Greg. Could not thank each of you enough for being here with us tonight. As I shared, the first time that I hosted our panel of all Black husbands who are happily married to Black women, it came out of much like Lateris Whitfield shared for Dear Future Wifey. It was like starting a journey around my own healing from past relationships. It is my vision to be married and to birth thriving, healthy, joyful, beautiful Black children. And it is a space. It's meant to be a space and a healing space, but not just for myself. There was an opportunity to grow and to share that journey with others. And I think what you all brought to tonight was just also powerful, inspiring, and encouraging, that we have the, really successful, not successful just in career, but successful in family life and thinking about life holistically. And I think that I just can't thank each of you enough. And on a personal note, for both Justin and Theo, who I had the privilege of seeing as freshmen in college, as we were all classmates at Cornell, I cannot tell you how proud I am of both of you, of the men that you have become, since very different from when we were 18. Okay. Absolutely. So
That's
I
all
will
we'll say about that.
Yes. No, I mean, it's all good. I mean, nobody was ever, all the way, there was never anything to say bad about anyone, but it's just the maturity of growing from youth into adulthood and being able to watch the men that they become is awesome.
Hey, well, vice versa. Hey, I remember you stepping at them parties and throwing up them pinkies or something like. No, it wasn't the pinky, it was the Zeta. But yeah, I do remember. I know. I'm saying you were a Zeta. I didn't mean the pinky. I ain't playing.
No, I'm an AKA Justin.
Yo, you are AKA my.
You was right, Justin. No.
Ooh, look at the
I thought
time.
so.
I was like,
I
wait,
thought
what?
so. I thought so. Either way, though, hey, vice versa. Listen, hey, you be doing your thing, so it's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Thank you very much.
I just want to say Justin survived Atlanta and ended up married because that storyline of being 14 ending up on Clark and Spelman,
Bro,
awesome.
what?
Oh my God.
Yeah, we need another offline,
Kudos,
no live YouTube conversation and
kudos
trade
to
stories.
Yeah.
Because my
Oh
God,
man.
Yes.
brother
And
made it.
speaking of that, all of our speakers who were here tonight and Kashaya is putting in the chat if there anyone who wants to connect with John and I after the conversation. Speakers, of course, willing to stay, but also appreciate your time. Connect with UpFront with John is building with his relationship readiness app. It's not like anything I have ever seen. I've had the privilege of being a beta tester as I am on the journey to connecting with my life partner. It is rigorous. It is thorough. It is thoughtful. And so, John, I'll let you speak a little bit more as you continue to connect with Black men around Upfront and any of
Yeah.
your talking series.
Thank you for that. Yeah, no, we're highly focused on the readiness for relationship as well as all of the life cycle stages in relationship. We're particularly focused on Black men as well. We have a 4-week intensive called Performance Architecture for Relationship Readiness, or PAR, that helps brothers identify all of the areas and the tools that they were not handed, or the playbooks that we weren't given as men moving into relationships. So we touch on everything from identity to standards and boundaries, communication skills, conflict resolution, and a whole lot more as a pathway into our connection district. So everybody can check that out at upfront.love. And then you can upfront.love/par as well.
I love
So
that.
looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you again for Upfront being our partner on this event. I got to give a shout out to some folks in the chat. I see Gerald. Yo, Mojo Goddess has been in it. Couple quick comments. I love the honest and raw conversation with husbands and couples sharing their challenges and vulnerability. Wow, I really enjoyed wisdom from the husbands tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank you all for being here tonight. We will let you depart. And yes, thank you for the reminder. If you have not already, make sure you tap in at americashotsauce.club, pick up your merch, pick up gifts for your wives. That sounds like a great takeaway. But we're going to have, Kashaya will drop in the chat one more time. We are having a flash sale on America's Hot Sauce merch between now and Friday for Juneteenth with 20% off. And yes, John is rocking also our Black People Are America's Hot Sauce hoodie in the black and gold. Shout out to Brandon, who had the idea for that, but that is also the piece that was just worn by Charlemagne the God, and who tapped in with America's Hot Sauce. And ultimately, our vision for the merch is to create an entirely Black-owned supply chain, all the way from raw materials, manufacturing, distribution, and upcycling and recycling based here in the US. And so starting that project is something that I'm very excited about, and starting with identifying what Black-owned businesses are already existing in the athleisure space. And as we create that supply chain, the opportunities to create jobs in industries that we actually have ownership of. The t-shirt business alone is a $5.6 billion industry. And at the moment, we as Black people don't own any of that. And our goal is to change that. So thank you all again for being here tonight. Kashaya, do we have any folks in the waiting room? And gentlemen, again, thank you all for being here. We'll put your contact details in the chat. But otherwise, thank you for being with us tonight. Good night, one. All right.
Peace.
So, John,
Hey.
how you feel?
Whew, that was a lot.
Thank you,
Peace, G.
Greg.
Thank you, bro.
I
Appreciate
looked
you.
up. I was like 9:45. Damn, we was in it.
Yes.
In it.
We were in it.
Good job, y'all. Love your vision, Verneda. I love it. Love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate being
Gee,
invited.
thanks for being here, man.
Thank you. I'm gonna go, John.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
I appreciate it. No, for real, for real. This
I
love
feel
you
it
for that,
all
bro.
in my chest. I said, shit. Oh God.
look, there'll be a
Yeah.
replay. You could roll it back and be like, "Oh, I missed that thing."
Mhm.
But no,
And the
it
work.
was really good. I mean, honestly, this is the longest panel that we've ever had. They truly typically run about 45 minutes. And I think tonight we just had a great combination of husbands who brought such richness, and I appreciate y'all going with the flow, flowing with it.
Yeah. Thank you, y'all. I'm getting ready for tomorrow, but I'm serious. I got a journal before I even move from this space. I want to keep this frequency. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Rest well, man.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. Peace out.
Awesome. Peace. Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you, John. This has been amazing.
Hey, great work. Well done. I know I jumped a little off track a couple times, so thank you for
Oh,
rolling with it.
not at all.
You know.
I thought everything that uh fruitful was said. I don't feel like anything got off track.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Same. So again, everyone, okay, so well, you know what? I understand. We also did go over time, so we may not have an America's Hot Sauce Tribe and Vibes tonight, but we will come back with more programming. This is our second signature event of the year. Anybody who was with us back in May, on May 6th, we held our Self-Care is the Revolution, all about in our health and wellness platform. Later in the year, we typically have at least one in-person gathering in New York City. And then we will have a what's your hot sauce? Let's tap in that economic piece before the year is out. But yeah, we're gonna take a little breather now. We had self-care is the revolution. We've done Black love is the revolution, and I really cannot thank you all enough for being a part of the America's Hot Sauce Tribe. Thank you, Kashaya, our production assistant who holds it down, and she navigates all of my all of my uh, waves and frequencies. And again, John, I thank you for partnering with me on this. I think that I could never have imagined when, and that was another alpha too, Jeff Johnson, who invited me to Clubhouse.
Jeff.
Yes, what world it
Yeah.
would open, and allowing us to meet and to build with one another. It's appreciated.
Likewise, sis. I appreciate
Yes.
you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of the vision. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
And believing in mine along the way. So thank you.
Absolutely. Please give my best to your wife and
Okay.
and the family. And
Thank you.
I look forward to continuing my journey on UpFront and
All right.
seeing where where that journey takes me.
We'll be here every step of the way.
I love that.
Appreciate it.
All right,
I know.
amazing. Enjoy, everyone. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. And as always, let the world know how you'll use your hot sauce today. Amen to that. We love that.
Let's go.